Hey, hi, hello, what's up? So on this week of My Drunk Astrology, I'm going to talk about fire signs. So I'm going to talk about what distinguishes the three fire signs from the rest of the zodiac, what it's like to have a lot of fire in your chart, and what it's like to not have a lot of fire in your chart. Here we go! Let's go! As you may have noticed, I got a little bit more festive for the occasion of talking about astrology. Ooh. Once again, the drink I've been drinking has just been cake-flavored vodka with no additives, no chaser, no mixer. Fuck that! Hey, party people. So, we're going to talk about fire signs. You may not have noticed, but there's the symbols for Leo on this lighter. It's thematic is what it is. I'm so coordinated. My lipstick matches it doesn't match my shirt. We're going to talk about fire signs. I had no plan going into making this video, so I have no idea if what I'm going to say is going to have any coherent thread or anything at all, but just let's go. So the three fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The elements cycle through the zodiac, right? So there's always a fire sign, followed by an earth sign, followed by an air sign, followed by a water sign. And then it starts over. So the three fire signs are evenly spaced. Each one is 4 months apart from one before, right? Aries starts at the end of March, Leo starts at the end of July, Sagittarius starts at the end of November. Fire signs are the emotional doers, right? They are the signs of the zodiac that get shit done based on what they feel. They're passionate, they're energetic, they're enthused, and they're also kind of impulsive. Side note, when I talk about fire signs, I think it's important to note that these qualities certainly apply to people who are a fire sign, right? So if you were born in the time of year that makes you an Aries sun or a Leo sun or whatever, these things are going to apply to you. But they also apply to people who have a lot of fire in the rest of their star chart, right? So as I've talked about in other videos, you have signs associated with all sorts of planets, right? So you have your sun sign, but you also have your moon sign, you have your Mercury sign, Venus, Jupiter, whatever. You have your rising sign. If a lot of those signs are in fire signs, right? So if you have a lot of things in Aries and Sagittarius, or a lot of things in Leo, even if you are not an Aries or a Sagittarius or a Leo sun, these things can still apply to you. Aries is the most enterprising of the three of them, right? Aries is about about being a leader and about taking initiative and about getting shit done. Leo is about passion in the follow through, right? Leo is also about passion for things that are sort of permanent, right? So Leo is about passion that takes the form of social passion, right? So it's about caring a lot about your friends, caring that your friends pay attention to you. And then Sagittarius is about sort of stumbling onto passion, right? It's about not necessarily going out of your way to find something, but always in search of a new adventure, right? It can also be about advocating for something that you're passionate about in the present, right? Because Sagittarius is about philosophy and also can be very argumentative. Fire signs and people who have a lot of fire in their astrological chart tend to be very excited, tend to have a very strong sense of what they want and what gets them going and what makes them excited, and also, frankly, tend to be very impulsive, right? They're emotional, but they're emotional in a very flare up and cool down sort of way, right? They can be very angry, they can be very confrontational, they will express all those feelings, and then they will forget about them. I've heard from people who don't have a lot of fire in their charts that fire signs can be exhausting because of this, right? They seem very, random. They seem very sort of quixotic. I'm not sure that quixotic means what I meant it to mean there. I'll say something else. They can be very sort of random and their emotions can seem kind of haphazard, but I find that kind of great. Since we wear a heart on our sleeve, you always know how we're feeling, or usually know how we're feeling, and once we've put everything out in the open, so you know what you're up against, it's kind of done. Like there's not really going to be like a lot of like lingering feelings, not a lot of passive aggression, not a lot of like that whole, oh, it's fine thing where people are still mad. That doesn't happen. Not with us. The three fire signs communicate and think on similar wavelengths, but on wavelengths that don't interfere with each other, right? So an Aries and a Leo are always going to get along because we're all very passionate, we're all very excited, and we're all kind of sassy and out there, but we get each other, right? The Aries might be kind of pushy and the Leo can push back, right? The Leo's not going to be as pushy, but the Leo is not afraid to be like, no, shut up. We're not going to the shoe store. We already went to get shoes today. I want to get clothes. Let's go to Uniqlo. Similarly, Aries and Sagittarius get along very well because Aries can be pushy, but Sagittarius is argumentative. But they don't take it seriously, because they're both so high energy and like, Neither sign, gets offended by the other one, and they just kind of laugh it off. And then Leo and Sagittarius also get along very well, right? Although that one's a little odd because Leo is very devoted and Sagittarius is super passionate, but also super distractible. Still, good match. Ooh. It does actually taste like cake. Not really good cake. Maybe it's good cake. Definitely not carrot cake. Fire signs get along, unsurprisingly, with air signs, right? Air fans flame. Also, unsurprisingly, they get along very poorly with water signs, right? Fire and water makes like steam. Fire and earth are just kind of like, yeah. If you're the kind of person who doesn't have any fire in your chart at all, or has very little fire in your chart, you are likely to be the kind of person who has trouble figuring out what you're excited about, right? Some people I know who don't have any fire signs tend to be very like go with the flow and tend to go with what other people want rather than what they want. You might be very tentative, right? You might be very sort of sheepish about, asserting yourself because you're, it's the reverse of super hyper impulsivity and whatever. Having no fire doesn't mean you're unemotive. It just means that the way you express your emotions is a lot less outward and a lot more inward. You're likely to sit on your feelings a lot more rather than just sort of acting on them. Traditional astrology sometimes says that having a lot of one element or a little of another element is a bad thing or a good thing. I don't really think that's productive, right? You're born, you didn't choose, unless your mother had a C-section, and then still, you didn't choose that, she did, or he did. I don't know, sometimes men get pregnant. You don't choose when you're born, you choose what you do with the star chart you're given, right? So if you are the kind of person who's a lot of fire in your chart and you identify a lot with those traits, you find yourself to be very impulsive, very passionate, very easily riled up. I think rather than sort of getting annoyed at yourself for those qualities of your personality, it's more productive to say, hey, that's who I am. How can I deal with it? Sometimes there's ways in which that can be good, right? Sometimes if you're that kind of a person, you're well suited to be, I don't know, like a lawyer or like work in business or something. And then just like don't work with 3-year-olds. I think it's better to look at what the amount of fire or anything in your chart says about you instead of being like, this is an inherently bad thing or an inherently good thing, being like, this is a thing. This is me. What parts of it do I like? What parts of it do I want to embrace? And what parts of it do I not like? Am I aware of? And can I work to correct? Again, if you don't necessarily relate to these qualities, right, and you are either someone whose sun is in a fire sign or someone who's a lot of fire in your chart, think about the other aspects of your chart maybe and see if that makes more sense, right? So if you are a fire sign, but you have no fire in any of the rest of your chart, right? I'm like this. See if that helps explain it, right? So I'm a Leo and I identify very strongly with the sign of Leo, but at the same time, I'm not a very impulsive person. I'm not a very passionate person in a lot of ways. I mean, like, I'm excited, I have a lot of energy, but at the same time, I often don't know what I want. Oftentimes I'm just like, whatever you want, it's fine. I'll just do what you want, right? And that's because I have no fire in the entire rest of my chart aside from my sun sign. By contrast, if you're the kind of person who does, if you're like a Pisces or something, but you relate to this a lot, maybe the rest of your chart is filled with fire signs, right? Maybe you have a ton in Sagittarius and in Aries, right? A close friend of mine is a Scorpio, but almost all of her planets otherwise are in Sagittarius. And a lot of these descriptors are things that fit her very well. The reason the elements are helpful are not just looking at your sun sign, but also looking at the way they dominate your chart as a whole. Next week, I'm going to be talking about earth signs instead. So that's Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. I make new videos every Thursday. I hope to see you next week. Thanks again for watching. Bye.